Faith chapter and section that we wish to look at today. You'll find that on the top of the second page. We will consider the forbidden fruit that is spoken of in the Confession, chapter 6, section 1, which reads as follows. Our first parents, being seduced by the subtlety and temptation of Satan, sinned in eating the forbidden fruit. This, their sin, God was pleased, according to his wise and holy counsel, to permit, having purposed to order it to his own glory. The opening words of this section here are very important and significant to the Christian church, and they are challenged today by some who profess Christian faith and yet would steadfastly oppose the notion presented here. Our first parents. That implies that all of humanity has its origins in one couple, Adam and Eve. That would certainly be what the Scriptures teach. When you go through the pages of Scripture, you find, of course, the beginning of the work of creation. Adam and Eve are created from the dust of the earth and placed in the Garden of Eden. All mankind descended from them. There's no notion, no idea in Scripture that there's anybody else living in the world besides Adam and Eve. It's just those two in terms of humanity. Everything else was animal, plant, or mineral. Maybe some water and air as well. But they were the only couple there. That's why Adam, in naming the animals, was placed into a deep sleep so that God would give him a helper suitable to him. There were no other humans for him to choose from. I was reading in World Magazine, the latest issue, which speaks of Francis Collins raising millions of dollars to support the BioLogos effort to describe our origins in evolutionary terms. And they're motivating pastors and teachers and people within the church to view their faith as compatible with an evolutionary framework. And so the chairman of BioLogos, or I believe the president, whose name is Dr. Harzma, a former professor at Calvin College, is promoting this idea that 15,000 to 150,000 years ago, there were multiple humans, along with Adam and Eve. And we have our origins from these multiple sources. And that would make sense from an evolutionary point of view. Why do not some come from, the Africans arise from Africa, the Asians arrive from Asia, the Europeans from Europe, and so forth? Why not multiple forms of humanity rising up in different places? Why suggest that it was just one couple created by God? The Confession argues for the unity of our humanity. We are one family. And so whether I am of European descent, African descent, Asian, Indian, Hispanic, we are all one family. Don't you see how evolution provides a division in humanity, provides different origins, and therefore differences that are deep and profound? Christianity recognizes one origin, one family, one set of parents. And this, in part, is because of what took place in the Garden of Eden. Now, I should say, before I go further from this point, Moses himself describes, of course, that our origins are from this couple, Adam and Eve, not only in Genesis, but also in Deuteronomy. Later, Job reports that Adam was a real historic individual. You have, in the New Testament, the Gospel of Luke, identifying the beginning of Jesus' genealogy as being with Adam, and from there his family arising. Certainly Jesus himself said that from the beginning, when talking about marriage, he spoke of marriage having its beginning with Adam and Eve, one couple. And then certainly Paul, first in the sermon we looked at in Acts 17, where he described all of humanity coming from one parent, one set of parents. And then in Romans 5, making the argument that all mankind descended from the first man, who was Adam. The Scriptures uniformly teach, in multiple places, over extended periods of time, a uniform witness to one couple being the source of humanity, and not multiple couples. Multiple source, one couple. Why is that important? Two reasons. First, it's from them that we have our sinful nature inherited. Our natures have been corrupted by the actions of this couple as they took part in, as they ate of the forbidden fruit. So their sinful nature has been transferred to us, and we will talk about that later. Furthermore, they were our head and representative. They acted on our behalf before God. And that is critical for our salvation because Christ acts on the same principle. He is our head and representative. And His death on the cross is effective for us because He stands there as our substitute, as the one who stands in our place. And so if you deny that human origins begin with one couple, there are consequences to that. You divide humanity and give an excuse for racism, give an excuse for the inferiority of certain races. And then what is more, you deny the transfer of sin through humanity. You describe it as just simply a product of environment. And then the opportunity for salvation is lost because Christ does not act for you. And so the confession makes a very important point, almost obliquely. Our first parents, they were seduced by the subtlety and temptation of Satan. Satan himself used various stratagems to lead them astray. And this temptation in Genesis 3 is critical for understanding what he continues to do today. He shows us a temptation where everything seems delightful. There are all kinds of motivations and encouragements. Beauty, nourishment, wisdom, being like God, spiritual fulfillment, all kinds of things come into us. But the truth is hid behind these artifices. By eating the forbidden fruit, we bring death on ourselves. And that is always the way of it. Sin leads to destruction. And it's presented to us in wonderful terms. Today, our culture is inundated with the idea that we can express ourselves in many different sexual ways. Homosexuality, random living together, what have you. And they suggest that this is all good. All kinds of explorations, all kinds of things you can experience. But there's great danger and harm there. And we learned that right from the very beginning. Well, there's much more to note from this section. We'll pick it up, Lord willing, again next Sunday. But be reminded that we have our descent from one historic couple, Adam and Eve, who were specially created by God in the Garden of Eden. They were the head and representative of humanity. And it's by their actions that we have the sinful nature and the curse on the world that we experience today. We'll look at it